I'm Mike Davis, and today I'm going to teach you how to play the board game Azul. Azul is a 2 to 4 player tile collecting game for ages 8 and up that plays in about 30 to 45 minutes and is by next move games. In Azul, you'll be collecting tiles from these discs over here and moving them over to your player board. You'll get points for moving your tiles over to your wall at the end of the round, and those points are based on how the tiles are laid out. You'll also have some in-game scoring points that you get at the end of the game. Let me show you how these work. At the beginning of the game and at the beginning of each round, you're going to reach inside of this bag here and you're going to pull out tiles and place them on your factory disc here. Once you have all the tiles out, the first player is going to select one of these discs and take a set of colors from that disc that match. So for example, let's say I want these yellows right here. I would take these two yellow ones, I'd put those on my player board, and the other two that are left on the disc go to the center here. So your factory disc is going to be empty there. This creates this new location in the middle here where you can take tiles from. So instead of taking from a factory disc around it, you can take from the center. So the next player comes along and they say, you know, I want these red tiles here. They take those reds, and this blue would go to the center. The next player comes along and says, you know what, I really want this blue right here, and these other ones go to the center here. And then eventually you can see that the middle here starts building up with more and more tiles. And someone is going to want to take those tiles eventually. And so someone says, well, I really want these 4 light blues here, so I'm going to take all 4 of these. That's great. But when they take those, they're also going to take this first player marker. So that gives them an advantage, but a disadvantage also. They're going to get to be first player next round, and they're also going to get -1 point because this is going to go to the floor on your scoring board. You're going to continue taking tiles from this area until all of the factory tiles are empty, and that ends the tile collection part of the round. Once you've collected some tiles from the factory, you're going to bring them over to your player board here. The player board has a colorful side and it has a non-colored side. For your first time playing, it's suggested that you use the colored side of the board. So once you have some tiles, you bring them over, you're going to place them on one of these rows here on the board. Now these rows start out with a 1 section, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5 section. So if I grab these 3 red tiles from before, I can put them right here on my 3 row, and that completes that row for me. I can put the tiles on any row as long as I don't have another tile there of a different color. So for example, if I'd had this blue right here, I would not be able to put those 3 reds there on that tile. I'd have to go to a different row, so maybe the row below there, like that. Now those red tiles, if I put them here on the 4, I'm good. If I put them down here on the 5, I'm fine. I do need to get some more tiles there before I can complete that row. But if I did move these reds up here to, say, this 2 section right up here, then what's going to happen is I'm going to have this leftover tile, and that's going to go down here to what's called the floor, and it's going to get me negative points at the end of the game. If you look at the bottom of the board here, you'll see that there are some negative points. So -1, -1, -2, and so forth at the bottom here. So those are going to give you negative points at the end of the game if you have tiles left over when you're placing tiles on the board. And something you can't do also is you can't split these up. I can't take and put 2 reds here and 1 red here on the same turn. If I collect 3 red tiles, I've got to place all 3 of them either on the same row or put some down here on the bottom on the floor. So here's an example of a turn after you've got some tiles on your board. So let's say we just got these 2 blue starburst tiles here. I could put those right here on this row, and that would complete that row for me. But let's say, for example, I'd gotten 2 different tiles. Let's say maybe I had gotten these 2 red ones. Now I have only one choice. I can only put those 2 reds right here where my red's at, and only one can fit there, so one is going to have to go to the floor. That's where you're going to end up taking negative points when those situations occur. Another example, let's say I take a yellow tile now, just 1 yellow tile. Well, the only place that has a yellow tile is this one right here, and that row's already full. I can't put yellow here because that's already at the blue starburst. Same here. This has got black. So yellow would go to the floor also. Even just taking 1 tile can end up on the floor if you have nowhere to place it. Alright, so now I'm going to show you a scoring example. So now all the factory tiles are cleared off. We brought all of our tiles over here to our wall. We're going to be sliding these over now onto our scoring wall now. So the first thing we do is start right from the top here. This yellow one's going to slide over. It's not touching any tiles. It's just going to give us 1 point for that 1 single tile. So we move our little scoring marker down to the section 1 here. Then we move our next tile. So we have 2 blues here. We slide over this 1 blue. That blue is actually touching this yellow here. And so that's going to score us 2 points. So there's 2 in that row, so to move up to the top, 1, 2. This blue that's left over is going to get pushed off and settle on the table there, and we'll go back in the bag eventually. These 3 right here, one of those is going to come over. The red, it's not touching anything horizontally or vertically, so that's going to score us just 1 point. And these reds are going to go off the table here and eventually back in the bag. These last 2 rows here are not complete, so those tiles are going to stay there until the next round, and they won't go anywhere until they actually complete those rows. And down at the bottom here, I did take the first player marker this round, so I'm actually going to lose 1 point. This will go back to the center of the table where the factory is, and I'll actually lose 1 point for having that. So final score for this round, I only scored 3 points. All right, one more scoring example. So let's say on a subsequent round, I've got these light blue ones here, and I slide this over. Now I've got 1, 2, 3 tiles in my column. That's going to give me 1, 2, 3 points. And I've got 2 tiles touching here in my row. That's going to give me 2 more points. So for a total of 5 points. Yes, you do count the blue tile twice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would give me 5 points I would score up here on my top marker. Now eventually in the game, your bag is going to be empty. You're going to have no tiles left in it, but you'll have some tiles left on the table that came from your player board. So for example, I have these 2 tiles here. It's the end of the round. I slide this one over and score my points. This one comes off my board and goes to the stack on the table here. And once the bag is empty and the end of the round occurs, all these tiles are going to go back in the bag for the next round. There is some in-game scoring here that happens at the end of the game also. If you have a row that is completed, you're going to score 2 points. If you have a column that is completed, you're going to get 7 points. And if you have 5 tiles that are the same color, you're going to get a bonus 10 points also. So now let's do an example of the in-game scoring bonuses you get. So I've already scored my tiles from sliding them over and getting my columns and my rows that were touching, but now I get these bonuses here at the bottom. So I've got 1 completed row here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gives me 2 points right there for having that row completed. I've got 1 completed column here also. That column gives me another 7 points. And I have 5 of the red tiles. I have all 5 red tiles on my board there, and so that's going to give me another 10 points. So at the end here, I'm going to get 19 bonus points at the end for having those items completed. The end of the game is triggered when someone completes one of these rows. And that's how you play the board game Azul. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, how about give us a like and maybe subscribe. If you have an idea for a video for us to do in the future, we'd love to hear it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.